Thank you for joining with me. We are picking up our reading in chapter 2, the separation and the atonement. This is the power of the mind, cause and effect. It should be emphasized that ultimately no compromise is possible between everything and nothing. Time is essentially a device by which all compromise in this respect can be given up. It only seems to be abolished by degrees because time itself involves intervals that do not exist. Miscreation made this necessary as a corrective device. The statement, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life," needs only one slight correction to be meaningful in this context. He gave it to his only begotten Son. This again is the right-minded version of the core ego principle of one or the other. From Jesus' perspective, outside the dream, there can be no compromise between truth and illusion. One cannot be a little bit pregnant. We either sleep or awaken. However, on the level of our experience within the dream, we are engaged in a temporal process in which we seem to go back and forth between the two states. And so the world, though inherently an illusion, can nonetheless be used by Jesus as a classroom in which we ultimately learn there is no world. This recognition is the attainment of the real world, the course term for the end of the journey, and acceptance of the atonement principle that the separation never happened. A dream, after all, is merely a dream. The real world is what God has given us as the correction for the ego's world of separation and death. The above passage, derived from John 3:16, should therefore not be taken as an expression of the belief that God created the world for his Son. I'm going to emphasize for his Son. The meaning here is made explicit in the following passage that appears in a later chapter. "I said before that God so loved the world that he gave it to his only begotten Son." God does love the real world, and those who perceive its reality cannot see the world of death. For death is not of the real world in which everything reflects the eternal. God gave you the real world in exchange for the one you made out of your split mind, and which is the symbol of death. And that is from the text, chapter 12, section 3, paragraph 8, sentences 1 through 4. The real world, to restate this important idea, is simply the Course's symbol for the Holy Spirit's correction. The memory of heaven and our self, capital S, that we took with us into the ego's dream of death when we fell asleep. We shall return to this theme of symbols further on in our symphony. We move on now to forgiveness. It is barely mentioned in these early chapters, yet it becomes the central focus of A Course in Miracles. We can see how Jesus is laying the foundation so that when forgiveness is subsequently discussed, we will be able to understand its meaning. In other words, forgiveness does not occur between two bodies, since they are but the effect of the mind's decision to be guilty, the cause, which is then projected onto our special relationships. We are going to stop there, and we will pick up on forgiveness tomorrow. I thank you so much for joining with me. I love you. I hope that you have a beautiful evening, beautiful day, whatever's in front of you. And remember that it is in each moment that we can find the holy instant. I will see you tomorrow. I love you. Bye-bye.